just might. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. Every morning, I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing, so when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to this, I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. Right, welcome everybody who has joined this live. It's such an honor to be here and super excited because we have some powerhouse ladies on this live, and it's going to be an incredible discussion on the future of work. We're going to be talking about how the education system needs to adapt, and of course we're also going to be looking at all the different ways the students, the graduates, the private sector, the government sectors, it can all come together. So welcome everybody, and I want to now introduce our exclusive, fantastic panel that we've got here today, and our chief guest, of course. Sarah, welcome to this platform. Thank you so much for joining us. Sarah is the managing director of Group M, and if you don't know who Group M is one of the largest media investment groups on the planet, and of course Sarah manages Group M East and Central Africa and is also their SSA coordination lead. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've also got Dr. Tara Rutley, who's a space scientist, a STEM leader, and a TEDx speaker. Tara, welcome.
Hi, guys.
Right, so we're going to get off with this. Really looking forward to this conversation. Sarah, first of all, thank you so much. By the way, let's talk about multitasking. Sarah is here. She's dealing with clients, and she's maneuvered them to one side. She's doing this interview, and then on top of that, she's going to get back. So how do you manage all that?
I think, someone actually yesterday asked me, how do you manage to do industry activities, mentoring, talks, work? And I think it's about finding the things that are purposeful, the things that make purpose, sit in the same space with my purpose, the things that allow me to actually impact not just my work, but impact people in things that matter to me. And when you're doing those things, you somehow find time. They don't feel tiring. They don't feel like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to cut out my dinner to come and talk to young people. When you're in your purpose and when you're doing things that are in your purpose, you rarely find it too busy to do those things.
And that's, I guess, where your vision and what you're trying to achieve is so important. As you said, your purpose, which is going to be fantastic for a lot of the young people who are watching this and thinking, why do I need to know my purpose now? As opposed to, I just need to go out and get a job and work. So with that, then, I'd love to ask you, we often talk about Africa as a sleeping giant. We know how much potential there is in Africa. Why do you feel now, at this moment, Africa is ready to awaken? And why this generation will have a key role in that?
I think, it's so, I think when I saw the things we are going to talk about, and Africa is one of them, I just had a talk, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago at Kantar, which was about Africa. And why is Africa the biggest thing we have to speak about today? It's because it's no longer the thing we are going to do tomorrow. Africa is ready now. It's not ready tomorrow. And why this generation is important is because 50% of Africans are under the age of 20. In another 5 years, it's going to be about 70% of Africans will be under the age of 20. This is the most critical generation of our times, not just in terms of them as resources or as customers. It's our biggest investment into what the future of Africa looks like. They're going to be professional resources. They are key as consumers to brands. More so, they are key as drivers of businesses. And I think you've seen the startup culture and movement in Africa and the frugal innovation in Africa, and how young people are using technology and simple technology to create businesses that are changing how we live today. So young Africans are going to be very critical in helping us drive what the future looks like. I'm sure the gig economy, the creative economy, that hustler creative gig economy the key players in that economy, the movers of that economy are young people. And that's why, honestly, for me, this is the generation that changes how Africa is today. And one more is the fact that this is the generation that is going to be able to hold accountable our leaders, our public servants, our leaders across politics or private companies in a way that allows us to be able to deliver to the continent better.
Absolutely right. And something Ryan Patel, who was part of the work we were doing recently, he said, build people. If you can make an impact at even an individualized level, we can certainly make an impact at a global level. And with that, I think one of the key things that you said is you're absolutely right, that the frugal nature of innovation. You look at countries like Nigeria, Click, for example, has been launched, as far as I believe, in Kenya. And it's a translation service with earbuds. So the other person could be speaking and you can listen to them and it translates what they're saying. And these are the kind of, just the start of the kind of the innovations coming out. In fact, we had a young man on just the weekend. His name was Joshua, who came on, and he has been developing robotic equipment. He's been doing stuff with RC airplanes, and he didn't have the equipment. He had to borrow the resources.
I think, and that's what frugality does, right? It's when you're sitting in a very frugal economy, you end up working with very bare minimum resources to deliver, right? Because you do still have to deliver. One of the initiatives that I sit on and I've mentored for a while is called Halt Prize. And Halt Prize, enables young people to come up with social tech-driven solutions that are going to impact our world today. And some of the ideas I see in those platforms and what young Africans, young Kenyans are able to deliver with it, it's because they're in a space where I have little. How do I use this little but still create impact? If you ask me what the biggest difference is when I was in college, I wasn't trying to impact the world, right? No, not really. But today, we're seeing a generation that is, 18, 19, 20, but really open-minded and exposed to what our problems are, and very open to what the solutions need to be, but more so in them being the solutions that we need to see in Africa today.
Absolutely. And Tara, your journey yourself with where you are, I'd love for people to know about how you came to where you got to, and take the next bit of this conversation forward.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sarah. It's great to be here. I myself had just had a dream as a kid, just working for NASA my whole life. That's all I've ever wanted to do. So it's probably started when I was in third grade. So I just went through everything that I needed to do to get there. People ask me, and now I do, like you, Sarah, I mentor students and young professionals, and I get asked a lot, how do you overcome the challenges that you've had? How what are the challenges you've had, and how have you overcome them? And my answers are, what else do you do, right? Like, if you have a dream and you're driven and you're motivated and you believe in something so much, the challenges come, but you work around them, you work with them, you work through them. And sometimes I don't even acknowledge them, but and you just keep moving. So how about for you, Sarah? What are some of the challenges that you've had to face when you were getting to where you are right now, and how'd you overcome them to share with the others who are interested?
Sorry, mute. As a young African and as a young woman and getting into advertising, honestly, I think I've had some times when I'm just like, I want to quit. I don't want to do this job. It doesn't work. Is this what I want to do? And from sexism to misogyny to people not believing that you can do what you are doing because you're either young or you're a woman. And I think some of my toughest times and struggles have always been, I have been brought up to believe I am very good at what I'm doing. I've been brought up to believe to speak up, to raise my hand, to say what my point of view is. And then learning that, oh wow, the real world is not socialized to accept that you as a young woman can always have a point of view, can raise your hand when you need to. You can actually have a point of view, and your point of view is important. You can say, I see that position, I want to go for it. I see this job, I want you to hire me for it. I want to be given the opportunity to do this job. And what I've learned, is the fact that and GroupM does this thing called Walk the Talk, and it allows women across the globe to actually learn and be confident, actually just raise their hand and to know that they should actually be worth of whatever role they want to play in a business, in the world. And what I've learned is the fact that the more you do it, the more it becomes easier. But sometimes I have seen people who just, corporate is not for me. They leave it. They can do something else. It's too hectic. But then what for me, the biggest learning is, what am I creating in the businesses that I run? What am I creating with the women that I interact with? What culture do I build where I work to ensure that no other woman or a young person has to go through what I have gone through? And how do we empower young women and men across the continent to know that corporate, it works, right? I guess, it works. We're here. The journey might be difficult, but how do we create for them a ladder that allows them to reach their better, faster, more efficient, with less pain, less trauma? And taking my learnings not as a bad thing, but as the fact that since I've gone through this, I don't think anyone I ever know should go through it. And just knowing every day that I can't give up. Resilience, like building it. I can't give up. I'm an eternal optimist. It doesn't always work, but I am always very optimistic that today might look really bad, but tomorrow, I can't give up, because I gotta do it tomorrow. And ensuring that I'm having conversations with as many young people as I can about the power of believing in yourself, being resilient, and just never giving up.
That's fantastic. And I think also onto that is, like, you recognize where you are, your role now, and even coming up where you were, that self-awareness was such that I have to do this. I can't squander this opportunity or this challenge that I've overcome now that I've gotten to the next step, then the next step, then the next step. You don't quit. Like you said, you don't give up, because there are so many others who are counting on you. And boy, you've come so far. So it's just no quit. I love it.
I know. And sometimes I think there's a friend of mine and I work with her, and sometimes she's just like, Sarah, you're giving too much. Maybe it's just time to say, stop fighting. Let's just give up. It's okay. We've tried. And I'm like, no. I'm going to ask about this thing that I'm pushing until one day someone hears me, and until one day someone does something about it.
Yeah.
And I think what I've learned is, when you keep at it, one day comes that someone actually hears you and actually does what is the right thing to be done.
And that makes the change. It's the difference between you and someone who doesn't do that makes the change. Yep. Awesome.
So I've got a question for both of you then. Going on that, when you have those real difficult days, you mentioned purpose, Sarah, earlier, and same for you, Tara. Then, how do you, what is it that you pull from? What is it, that source that gives you that energy to say, okay, as you said, Sarah, new day is going to come, but there's got to be something, right now we're probably facing some of the most complex challenges we've ever faced. In fact, my quote from Yuval Noah Harari, one of the things he says is, in order to survive in the world of 2050, you will have to be consistently able to reinvent yourself to thrive in this next decade. But then what is it that you turn to that gives you that inspiration, that willingness to get back up? Because as you said, day to day, things change. It's not always easy. Tara, do you want to go with that? And then Sarah, you?
Yeah, I think, it's, first of all, tomorrow will come, next week will come, next year will come. The time is going to go by no matter what you do. So in my opinion, my mantra is make the most of it. Even on the bad days, time goes by. So I can't squander every minute. And then recognize what it is about me and where I am now that I can contribute. Sometimes the problems in the world seem so big, and I want to try to solve them all. And you can't, and then you get overwhelmed, right? Then you get overwhelmed, and that's what makes the days hard for me, is when the picture is too big and I can't manage all of it. Then you have to zoom into yourself, and that's how I manage, is I zoom in and say, what can I handle right now? What's in front of me? What's on the side of me? What's behind me? What is in my small sphere of influence, whether it's right now, today it's just my family, maybe next week it's my team at work, maybe the week after it's my community, and then I can go bigger. But what can I influence now? What do I have to offer to those now? That's how I get through a tough day.
And what about you, Sarah?
I think it's the same two things. One is purpose, trying to remind myself that I'm sticking to my purpose, and when I'm going off, what do I need to do to come back to my purpose? But then the other thing is really staying present. And I think it has become more critical for me during COVID. It's really being able to stay present and look at things and say there are a billion things in the world today, right? You know, people need to be vaccinated. There's just so much going on in the world today. But what can I do? What can I focus? And in staying present, it allows you to break it down to the things I can actually impact, and then focusing on those things that I can impact, and then working outwards. And COVID has been tough, as Tara said. Sometimes it's just not even other people. Sometimes it's I need to focus to keep Sarah sane today, right? Today, I need to focus to stay sane as Sarah today, not my team, not my family, not anybody, not anyone else, just you. And I think as a person who has always been a giver, it becomes so critical to just remind yourself that if you can't be okay, then you can't impact anyone. You can't impact any system. And I think COVID has taught me to just always be like, am I being present? Have I checked in with myself? Am I in a good place? To then take on what, other initiatives that either help my teams, help someone I'm mentoring. Because if I enter any of those without being fully present, then I carry whatever I'm struggling with at that moment in time to that other person. So I think being grounded to what is important has been a very critical piece for me.
So then taking that conversation forward, we know what you draw upon in helping you get through those days, but obviously both of you are in these incredible positions that's going to impact people all around the world, whether you look at space science, whether you look at media and the work you do with working with all these multidisciplines. So Sarah, the question I have for you then, we know the future of work is ever changing. Where does the education system sit with that? How does it need to adapt? And what do you look for young people, or what skills do you think are important for young people to apply to companies like GroupM today?
You know, I'm really passionate about this topic of future of work and getting young people ready for work. And I think, so I'll speak about two things. One, for me, even before I speak about the initiatives I'm in, is the fact that as a private sector, public sector, everyone, we do have to be working in creating either education systems that churn out students that are ready for work, and the ones that have already been churned out, then how do we create platforms that allow them to get ready for work? And not just in a professional setup at GroupM, for example, but I want to go into the gig economy. I want to go to a creative economy. How do I get ready for it? And one piece is, some time back, I think someone on Twitter was talking a lot about, as a creative person, how do you get a loan from a bank? What are your assets? What do you give them? And I remember, it was such a big discussion. And I asked one of my clients, actually, that's the reality. What do I come if I'm a content creator? How do we empower such creative economies from a space of enabling them to actually be able to access markets, access money, and get them ready for work? That is one piece. The other piece is, I'm in university. I'm learning how to do marketing. When I walk into advertising, I'm just like, what is this place? Like, it's so different. And the things I learned are not the things I am supposed to be doing at work. And I think that is the critical piece where, how do we work with, universities, public sector, to shift what our curriculums look like, to get people out of the university who are either ready to start their businesses or ready to work. So there are two things I am very involved in. One is GradX, which you saw me talking about. And GradX is a GroupM Sub-Saharan Africa initiative, was launched 2 years ago. Next year, we are planning to have a couple of graduates from across the continent: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia. Some of these markets, the reality is finding a media person. It's almost impossible. I don't know how to explain it. You know, you could literally be hiring for almost a year and you can't find someone, both for agencies, but for our clients as well. And therefore, GradX is designed to take graduates for a full year training, and we pay them as they go through the training, so they're employed. So we are paying them, right? But we are giving them maybe 20% work, 80% time to study. And when they come out of this program, of course, we hire them, and we also offer our clients opportunity to hire from the graduates. But they are a full, wholesome media person: data, technology, digital, planning, strategy, everything. Of course, they could decide they want to specialize as they move on, but they have a base that is so strong that if I can tell my clients like Coca-Cola or Airtel across Africa that I now have people across these markets who are local and they know what they're doing. And the reason GradX is important is because if you go to most of African markets, you'll find media people who've come from other markets. So we have sent someone to Uganda, we've sent someone to Zambia. And our aim and our goal is to be able to hire from those markets, train these people, and therefore the skill sets that we hire are locally from those markets, because creating jobs is also a big piece of it, right? We launched GradX. We are quite happy with where we are at. Next year, we are very, very excited that we are able to take it bigger to Sub-Saharan Africa. And then I work on Crucible, and Crucible is a Kenya initiative only for now. And we do it with Strathmore University, and it's for marketing students. So the university have a marketing course, and then they have a marketing club for the students. And what it does is we give them a brief, a real-time client brief. This year, we're actually giving them a Safaricom brief. And the kids come into groups of 2 or 3, sometimes 1, and they work as if they were an agency. So this is a phone, launch it for Safaricom. This is the KPI. Give me a strategy, a creative strategy, and how to go to market for this product. This year, honestly, Wasim, we got almost 100 and something entrants from across the country. We shortlist them to 10. And for those 10, we hire all 10 into WPP Scan Group. And what that does is by the time you're hiring these students, they know how to work. They can use PowerPoint beyond just what they learned in school. They can actually work on a campaign. Therefore, they are ready to work. It's easier for them to go to work. And we have partners that allow us. ISA is one of our partners, International School of Advertising in Kenya. And in addition, they give these top students training, part-time training that gets them through, whether it's media planning, client management, strategy, creative. And it allows us to be able to churn out people from the university that have their degree as a base, and then they have the Crucible experience. And it's really, some of the students that we've had are people who are full copywriters at some of our agencies today, because they don't struggle when they actually come to the job market. Because that is the biggest problem between corporate work and university. The onboarding process can become very tough. And the Crucible allows us to get young people ready for the job market with real life work and experiences.
I'm at a loss for words. I'll tell you why. Everything that I was potentially going to ask you, you gave us a masterclass. It's like, and in fact, a lot of those questions. So a lot of you are asking, how this will, I got to ask this question. If you're a pharmacist, or you're a doctor, or you're a biologist, or you've just done engineering. Why does media matter? Why does that ability to communicate matter? Because I get asked, I understand it. I'm a pharmacist, and media and influence has made a big difference in my life. That's a fact. So I'd love for you to unpack that for all those people who are studying and thinking, but I'm doing, a degree. Do I need to worry about my personal brand? Do I need to worry about my professional brand? So I don't think there's anybody better to unpack that than yourself.
Media matters, communication matters, because for everything we do, whether it's in public sector, private sector, health, what is the base of it? Communicating to people, right? I'll give the best example for today. How are we getting people to get vaccinated in Africa today? How do we get our numbers? How do we get our percentage of vaccination beyond 10%, right? Communication. That's the health sector. But as a person, communication matters because it allows you to be able to fully explain to any stakeholder, whether it's for a job, whether for any partnership, what you bring to the table. It allows you to know how to use these platforms that for the first time we have for free, right? Twitter is free, LinkedIn is free. These platforms are free. But what you do with those platforms is the game changer of what potential employers or partners bring to the table. I've seen some young people who they have a product, they go through Halt Prize, they don't become the winner, and they use LinkedIn and Twitter to create their product, to find partners, to communicate their product, and actually launch their business and slowly get partners into their business. Social media is powerful if we use it properly, right? And being able to say, what social media platforms do I want to be in? What is my strategy in that social media platform? What is it doing for me? I use LinkedIn. I think it's my most active platform. But I use LinkedIn to share things I am passionate about, things that Group M is passionate about, but things that Sarah is passionate about. What is Sarah? Before there's Group M, what is Sarah passionate about? It could be tech startups, education. I'm very passionate about education. And learning to be brave and open in these social media spaces. And sometimes some of the connections that you make, you're not so sure. The first time Wasim connected with me, I was like, oh, I don't know this guy, but I'm going to look through his LinkedIn. And I'm like, oh, this is a solid connection. Then I'm going to connect with this person. And for me, that is the differentiator. Of course, sometimes you connect with people who are not useful. And you're like, okay, out of every 100 people I connect with, 5 might be useful. And out of those 5, 2 may be game-changing connections. But you have to put yourself out there. You have to have a strategy of what you want to communicate. You have to share your point of view. My point of view may not always be what other people's point of view looks like, but I will share what my point of view is, because in that I will find people that we either agree, so we work together. We don't agree, so if I find a way of being challenged and I know something better about that challenge. But I think it's about enabling young people to know that social media is good for socializing and having fun and posting selfies. And posting pretty pictures on the beach, or having a drink. And then social media is very powerful in creating your connections and allowing you to expand your world. I hope that has answered.
Yes, it has. It's made me speechless. Tara, anything you'd like to add?
Are you kidding? No. I mean, I'm a scientist, and so as a scientist, it's highly critical to communicate, because our funding and what we believe in and what we're purposefully driven for depends on us being able to communicate why what we do is important to the world, or to my family, or to the neighbors across the street. So even if you're not going into corporate and you're going into public service like I am, you've got to be a great communicator. You've got to be able to communicate in English what it is you're doing and why it matters to the world. So social media may be one of those platforms. oral skills, maybe another, video clips, maybe another these days, writing good papers and persuasive publications. A lot of scientists don't know how to be persuasive, but they know how to be factual. So reaching out and like Sarah said, communication is the basis of all human function. It's the source of all discourse and source of all celebration. So being a responsible communicator, using these social media platforms for good, is the most powerful thing I think we can do with what we have right now.
I absolutely agree. And I think the other thing is we know how media can be utilized to communicate the best side of us and also impact so many people. One of the questions we've got here from one of the students is, how do you decide what is a great idea? Like, what do you think is $1 billion idea? In fact, this was from Joshua. And with the companies you work with, Sarah, the products you launch, what sets apart this works and this doesn't? What is your thinking process?
So I think I'll do it in two ways. So one, I think for smaller, if you're starting up, I think HaltPrice, I've worked with HaltPrice for 4 years now. And I think what it has taught me is, how do you spot the big idea that is going to change the world? But how you do also spot the idea that while it's quite innovative, it's impacting people, right? Like it's impacting the things that we, the future, whether it's food security, whether it's jobs, whether it's environment, the things that we know our future needs. And I think one of them is always, what has this been done before? No. Okay. Can you do it? So, because sometimes you have a brilliant idea, but can you do it? If I give you money today, can you do it? And, sometimes I can give you money today and you still struggle to figure out whether this idea works. Two, how will this idea impact our world today and tomorrow? And I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed learning with HaltPrice is asking, what are the numbers? How do you use data to project the numbers of how this thing is going to impact people today and tomorrow? If you want to create 10,000 jobs tomorrow with this idea, how do we get there? What is the journey to get there? And then how ready are you to actually do this idea? I think one of the biggest things, when we are trying to look for ideas to fund is always, are they ready? Are they actually ready to get this money today and kick off? But what I've learned with HaltPrice is the thing that you could be ready, but you need to be funded by someone or a business or an organization that understands that it's a journey, right? So it's a journey through, if I'm going to give you $1 million, I'm going to give you $1 million in 2-3 years, not in 1 year. And how do I walk you through the journey of executing your work? And that's technical capability where, enabling the gig economy is not about just money. It's about the skill sets, right? That this group, how will they learn how to market their product? How will they learn how to create a product that is, meets the standards of the market? How will they learn how to manage the revenue when they start making money? The skill sets that come with money. So yes, you have money for funding, but then what are the skill sets that you need to make this idea work? I think for me, I feel like businesses and corporates, big businesses still struggle in being entrepreneurial or having a startup mindset. I think there's companies that are quite good at it, but I think the bigger you become as a business, you just kind of keep on losing that startup mindset. I think I saw when Jack was resigning, and one of the things he was talking about is having that startup mindset. And after a while, some companies just lose it, right? And that's why they're not innovating at the speed of what you're seeing outside the big companies. So you somehow find innovation in this big startup space with young people, but it's not sitting with the older people running the big brands. And the future is about, how do we start pulling these two worlds together? So there are these young people who are going to keep on innovating. And then there are these big brands that can afford to fund and create products that are being innovated by young people. And how do you start bringing those two together? How do you start creating platforms that you're linking these two people together, that a business, a brand, a bank brand can see an idea that they can take and enable this person to deliver? And I think that intersection is where we create magic in Africa for creating jobs, not to employ people, but enabling them to employ themselves and employ more young people in their businesses. You're muted, Wasim.
Realize that. Yeah, no, I do that often. We're going to move to the voices from the field section because we have a load of people who have loads of questions, and we've got our other guest panelists joining as well. But before I come to them, a question from Tawfiq. And again, thanks, Sarah, for all this impactful discourse. African houses, talented youths that believe is diversity. I mean, innovative youths who have grown beyond their area of specialization. Do we have a plan to give people like that a voice? And I guess that comes back to what you said, Lori. There's all this talent, and it's, you know, it's frugal innovation. How do we empower them, and how do we give those kids voices?
I think today I feel like there are enough platforms that allow people to express themselves. And it's about being open to find those platforms and being involved in those platforms. I had a very interesting conversation with KEPSA. KEPSA is the Kenya private association body in Kenya, and they run a program called Ajira, and it's about empowering young people and connecting them to the bigger businesses, right? Because every private company in Kenya, which are big, small, they're part of KEPSA. And KEPSA is a government body. And the first time I met them, I was wowed at the kind of the strategies they're working to launch that enable us to connect young people and corporates into the same space. I think you find if you're in Kenya, you know, or in Africa, there are a lot of platforms, right? Some are private, some are public. And I think it's putting yourself to be open to apply to as many as you can. If you see this platform open, apply, put your idea out there, go pitch for that idea. Every opportunity you have to pitch for what your idea looks like, take it. But I think there's a bigger space and a bigger purpose for people like myself in private businesses to create those opportunities more often that can be able to reach more Africans. Because I could say maybe today we are reaching as private sector, I don't know, maybe 30% of the young people in the country. And how do we start reaching 50%, 60%? How do we get to a space where we know in every 10, 8 of these young people will get an opportunity to actually actualize what they want to actualize? How do we start step changing what products banking and microfinance institutions are giving, that a young person with a good proposal can get funded by a bank? I want to see that. When I see that, I think we would have made it. We'll have moved the stone to the needle in the right direction. When you can actually walk in as a content creator, share what your resume looks like, share what you do, and be funded to buy a better camera. I think that's the, you know, when products and businesses move to that space of being able to understand that the gig economy, you know, this young person does not have a parcel of land or a salary to really bank their funding on, their idea. When we get there, and then being able to say what is the risk percentage the bank will know, because they will not be able to fund everything. But then I believe there's data we have, and, you know, actuarial scientists to be able to calculate risk and actually increase the number of young people we can actually give funding in the gig creative economy.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And we've got our other guest panelists. We've got Rep Power with us. We've got Sam. We've got Lachey, who's our student panelist, or graduate student panelist. So we've heard Tara, we've heard Sarah. Both of them have given so much insight. I'd like to come to you, Sam, and welcome, and so glad you're here. I would love for you to introduce yourself and comment or question on everything you've heard so far.
Thank you so much, Wasim. First and foremost, I was listening to the conversation. I was like a sponge, just taking in And I had to look at Dr. Tara's face because I could see she was like, I mean, she was like, who is this woman? Who is this Sarah? It was like sponge. Sarah, proud to be on the same platform with you. My name is Samuel Banjo. I'm the CEO of Great Business Platforms. We're a digital marketing agency in London. So the digital space you're talking about, it just got me smiling because I get it. I get what you're saying. I really, really get it. But I'm also with my wife. I'm also the founder of Women for Africa. And in Women for Africa, we celebrate ordinary African women doing extraordinary things. And we've created a bridge there between celebrating them and empowering them in enterprise through digital marketing. And the third hat that I wear is, because I'm a bit of a geek, I'm also a co-founder of the Capital Markets Academy. There we train people on how to trade the markets, especially I'm heavily passionate towards the crypto and digital markets, NFTs, and giving people opportunity to participate in creating this new wealth. And I'm going to stop there because I'll just comment on what you said, but I'll wait for my turn to comment because there's so much in what you said that I am absolutely wowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Rhett, welcome to the panel. I know you, like Sarah, were juggling multiple things. Sarah had a client and she's like, right, I'm just going to do this LinkedIn Live. I'm coming right back. Rhett was interviewing someone and he's also jumped on. So Rhett, would love for you to introduce yourself and just comment and tell us what you thought about some of the things you heard Rhett, Sarah talk about. And also, you know, we talked about the future of work, what your thoughts are.
Well, thank you, Wasim, for having me. Apparently I missed quite something when Sarah spoke because I just jumped on. So I wish I could replay that and to be able to comment on it. I haven't been able. I didn't listen, so I missed it. I'm Rhett Power. I'm co-founder of Courageous Leadership, and I write for Forbes and Inc. and a bunch of other magazines. And but most importantly, I'm an executive coach and leadership coach, and I help executives and athletes fight fear so that they can move their organizations forward in a productive and a good way. Because one of the things I realized as a CEO a long time ago was that we're programmed we're programmed with fear. Like we make decisions based on fear. We do a lot of things out of fear, and I don't think that's a great way to operate. And so anyway, in terms of the future of the work, is that what you were asking me about? I'm excited about the future of work. I was just at Web Summit in Portugal a couple of weeks ago, and I interviewed an AI computer. And we talked about my childhood, and we talked about my first car, and we had this conversation like I was having a conversation with a normal person. And I think the future of work, that I started thinking a lot about that question then, and it just occurs to me that in 10 years, machines and computers, we're going to be able to have conversations with them like we're having right here, and we're not going to be able to tell the difference. I was just doing an interview, and the guy was talking about how he feels like in 5 to 10 years, we're going to go to conferences and we're going to be talking to people's avatars. You know, we're going to wear our glasses around the conference hall, and some of the interactions will be in person, but a lot of the interactions will be with someone's avatar, and they're sitting in Nairobi, or they're sitting in New York, or they're sitting in London, and so I think that's part of what the future looks like for us, and it's certainly remote. My son had his first job this summer, and it was a remote job. He's 17 years old. He is never going to know what it's like to work in the way that Tara, you and I, and Sarah, you and I, the three of us look like we've got a little age on us. Sam and Lashley, you guys look pretty young. But they're not going to know. They're not going to know that he's not going to know the same kind of work that I do. He's not going to know what working in a cubicle is like, I don't think. And so I'm excited about it. I think it means that that we have to completely rethink as leaders what work means and how it gets done. And so that's exciting to me.
Amazing, Brett. And Sarah, with that then, a point there is, as Rhett put it, how does that connection happen? Because there is experience, the experiences you guys have had over the years. Yes, things are changing. How do we make sure that experience connects with this generation, yet still allows them to innovate and be fearless in what they do? You're muted now, yeah.
Yes. I think, if I look at how my world is structured today, some of the most impactful people in my world today have been people who are older, who have experience that I haven't had, right? One of my my bosses is the Africa CEO, Scott Federico. He has a wealth of experience, right? He's been in media like for years. He has a wealth of knowledge on how to how to deal with challenges that I'm just seeing for the first time today, right? And I think it's about creating spaces where the people with the experience are linked to young people with who have passion and knowledge of this digital world, and then linking them with people with experience, and that's how you create magic, right? Because the experience cannot be learned not in 2 days. Even if you go to whatever, even if you go to Kellogg's, you'll come back, you still don't have that experience. And the young person has this, even in my office, and Rhett, I'm old, maybe, but in my office, I am among the very old people in my office. And some of the people I hire, and their rate of learning and doing things in the digital tech space is 100, and mine is 40. And I do have to get myself to the space where I am learning from them and they are learning from me. I always call the fact, we mentor young people, but we have to be open for reverse mentoring, right? So how much time do I spend with young people and learn from them as I am teaching them? So it's not even one way, it's learning from both and being open. And, I think ageism in advertising has been written about a lot. And, the reality of life is you might be young and digital, but there's this other person with experience to take what you know and make it better. And creating spaces and culture in our organizations that allow us to do that and allow us to learn from each other. But as older people, opening my mind to know that I don't know everything. I'm not even anywhere knowing everything in media. And there's this young person who will give me a solution that I never ever thought about, because their mind thinks differently. They're a digital first audience. They never saw a world without a smartphone. I was a teenager without a phone. So, that's very different. They were teenagers with smartphones. And therefore, their rate of what they can do with their skill set of technology and digital today, and the experience running businesses, or being able to structure businesses, understand finance, understand commercial elements of a business, are very different. And every time I mentor young startup businesses, I tell them, you have a brilliant idea, but you don't know how to manage money. You don't know how to manage commercials. You're either going to overprice your product or underprice it, or oversell it or undersell it. And sometimes stepping back and saying, what do I not know, and where can I get this information? And creating spaces where the people with experience and young people can work together to be able to drive this is what is very important. So I mentioned Crucible Wasim, and Crucible, that's what we do. So the judges for Crucible are people who work in advertising for long. And we are working with these young kids who are in 3rd year, 4th year in university. And we are learning from them. I spent last week on Saturday the full day at Strathmore University. I wrote very many notes. They were not for feedback. I was learning. They could say something and I'm like, I never imagined that for a client. Because I'm kind of in a box in the way, because I've worked in advertising for so long. But because they don't live in that box, they are so open-minded in terms of what they can impact to what we do today. And even, you know, every time we hire young people, I always tell people we can't treat them as the interns who we don't involve in conversations. We need them to be involved in the brainstorm, in the client creation, in the client engagement, in creating campaigns, because that's how we merge the old and the new, right?
Sarah, do you mind if I chime in, Wasim? Sarah, I think that is such a critical, what you just said is really so critical. And I think to add on to it, it's an imperative for us as business leaders to understand this, because if you look at, I mean, we have a business apocalypse going on. I mean, businesses are dying. These are old Fortune 500 companies, these older big companies. They're going to get disrupted by the companies that understand exactly what you just said, that where the leaders understand the young people, they understand the new ways to communicate, they understand the new ways to work together, they understand that they figure out how to learn from the teams that they have, the young people. I think that's so important that you create a culture where you can learn from young people, whether it's that 22-year-old college graduate, or whether it's the 50-year-old like me who has a little bit of experience. And you can mesh that. The companies that mesh that really well, they're the companies that are going to survive this all these changes that we're going through. And the ones that don't, they're done. They're going to get disrupted. So I think that's a really important point.
Okay, so as the youngest one on the screen, we should probably ask Lachey Ben-Salami what she thinks about all of this, because she is one of the youngest powerhouses I've ever met, from a family of powerhouses. They've got the magic formula. And so you've just heard two elders talking all about the youngsters. So what is your perspective on what they're saying? I mean, you're like coveted. We want you. What do you think about it?
Thank you so much for that introduction, Tara, and hello to everyone. My name is my audio okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. My name's Lachey Ben-Salami. It's been absolutely amazing listening in. I was so immersed in what you were saying, Sarah, and then what Rhett was saying. But as a young person, as a youth advocate on this platform, I think I agree so much with the point that it is going to take a merge. And one of my huge passions personally and what I do with my family is book writing and publishing and understanding the power that stories have. And it's going to be stories that are really going to pioneer us and take us into those next steps in the work field, personally, professionally, and everywhere, is sharing those generational stories to, one, keep that human element as we transition into this AI space of remembering what it means to be a human being, what it means to serve, to come from a heart space, and to be pursuing something for the purpose of wanting to empower others. So I think it's coming to a nice balance of hearing the elders, taking that wisdom, and also the young people saying, oh, here's a really cool solution, as you guys are sharing, to this problem. But no, I'm really excited, and I'm so grateful that there are amazing people that are really opening the gates for young people. What you said earlier, Sarah, being able to see those young people and giving them the opportunity to step into those spaces and use their skills, because sometimes it just takes one person believing in you for you to really fulfill your full potential.
Wow, Lachey, that was we're just getting all these master classes. So I'm telling you guys now, I'm copywriting this and I'm going to be spreading it everywhere. This is just incredible stuff. And thank you for that, Lachey. Sarah, that's, you know, in fact, Lachey, what did you study? And that's a very important point. What did you study?
So I studied business and media.
You study business and media, but you're an author. You publish books. You do talks. And I know when I was a kid, or most of us when we were kids, your parents were like, "Are you crazy? You need to get a degree. You need to find a vocational job. You then need to pay a mortgage, and then you buy, you get a house, and then you think about retiring." But you're already doing things that I used to watch on TV and watch on TEDx and all this. And Sarah, is that the future? Is that what we're looking for from and empowering these kids? Because you've just seen with people like Lachey, who are already doing things that, you know, we used to, when I grew up, it used to be, Tony Robbins, or it used to be Les Brown, or, you know, those are the people that did that. There's no way I was going to do that.
I think, and I believe digital is the biggest equalizer of life, right? Of the world. So there's a child sitting in Lagos today who's going to be inspired by something they've seen Lachey write, and it will change their world. And I think, the other day I saw a kids dancing group from Uganda being posted on the internet by award-winning American artist. And I think, what it does is digital has equalized us, right? How? It has allowed us to open opportunities for people in places that we couldn't. So yes, when we were younger, I had to go to a cyber cafe, pay a lot of money to access internet, and access it only for a short period of time. I didn't know how to use it. There was no learning on the internet. What was that, right? But today, you can learn from the internet for free. And you can learn so much. And I think, the businesses of today, both private sector, public sector, it's about, creating jobs. It's not just about hiring doctors and lawyers and IT specialists. It's about enabling people to develop skills and just do what they want to do. They could want to create a clothes brand. They could become an artist. Every time I see Wizkid or Burna Boy, and I'm like, this is an African artist, and you're going to walk into a mall in the UK and they're playing a Wizkid song. Do you know what that looks like? And this is a young kid, right? He's not even 40 yet. And I think it's the power to say, how do we allow young people and enable them to know that whatever they're passionate about, they can go and hustle on it, right? Whatever they're passionate about. Because, we grew up thinking careers were just 5 things that you could do, and these are you make money. And then later in life, we are here doing careers that we did not study for, right? But the reality of life of today is you can create money from a wide array of things. I have seen content creators who get paid very well for creating content. I've seen creators who travel the world for free because they are such fantastic content creators. And just opening up, the role of school and of opening up the minds to what is possible. And I think that's where public sector curriculums come to play. How do we ensure in Africa we are opening the minds of young people to what is possible? That's it. I think the biggest thing is just opening up the minds of young people to what is possible, and then creating systems that support them when they decide, I want to hustle in music, when they decide, I want to become a designer, when they decide, I want to become a graffiti artist, when they decide, I want to do this thing. What is the system that enables them to actually be successful in that thing that they're very passionate about and they're good at?
Yeah, I mean, it breaks down borders too, right? And it's a great equalizer, I think, to Sarah's point. It gives us a chance. I'm working with a company called NYCE, and they're giving people the opportunity to invest in real estate. It's kind of, I don't know if you've heard of like Robinhood, but it's the Robinhood for real estate. It's giving people in minority communities, that's their focus, to invest in real estate and build wealth. So where we are today, it's changing people's access to money, maybe their relationship with money, their understanding of, like Sarah was talking about, like the different things that they can do to earn money and to make their money work for them. And it's fascinating. My 15-year-old now is learning about investing and how money works. Where was he ever going to learn that with this? But now he's got these tools that he can learn about the markets. He can learn about crypto if he wants. He can follow these things and do these things that, as a 15-year-old, I never could have dreamed of doing. And that's exciting.
I love that. Can I just jump on that as well and say, you know, the fluke, the COVID fluke that shut down the economy was the same COVID that forced a lot of my clients and my friends' clients to actually accept to do business with us online. So my third business was a success as a result of the shutdown. It forced that the only opportunity left was digital. One, what it means in line of what Sarah is saying is when we were younger, we looked for enabling environments and opportunities. But because the environment is now open and it's digital and there are no real gates, there are no immigration borders, it's an open field. It then goes back to the question of what Sarah was saying about mindsets and how do we get public policy or public schools thinking along those lines. What I want to say there is that what we've discovered from our experience is that you don't actually need the schools to change. What needs to happen is that we just need to be the pioneers of that change. And in saying that, two of my companies online are actually engaging and employing people in Africa. So the majority of our workforce is actually based, and we're actually looking for more. So when you were speaking about, I was like, we're looking for more. We want more. We want more, because the truth is that what we pay here, by the time we change it, we can pay far less to people in Africa, and they will be grateful, and they'll be happy, and they'll be employed, and we'll get the job done. So this digital thing, what we need to what I say is there is no blueprint. There are no policy. We are the policy makers. We are the people that will define how tomorrow looks in business. If we allow another set of people to define it for us, then we'll be stuck within their paradigm. So I feel as an African in the diaspora, the way we're going to wash and increase that continent with opportunities, especially for women and girls, because of the imbalance, is we just need to have more open opportunities and get them connecting to the kind of opportunities that exist here and now from the western part of the world. So I think that it's open mind. I think that it's not about waiting for policymakers. I believe that we are the policymakers, and I also believe that the only part that needs to be increased is connecting. It's connecting. And the reason why I point out women and girls, because obviously I'm a man, and I'm a boy and a man. I was a boy, I'm a man, is that it's quite clear that when you want to balance a family unit, if you can enable or empower the woman, the likelihood of the family staying together is much higher, and that reduces the need for the younger ones to go to things that are counterproductive or antisocial. So we have online schools. We just finished the graduation now, and we're always interested in taking on more girls. Initially, we were charging money here, and we found that the people in Africa couldn't read. We found it wasn't fair, because by the time you change a pound and say it's only £10, it was so much money there. So we thought, remove the barrier and make it free for everyone. That's the people in the diaspora and the ones in Africa, and we take them through these sessions. And the bottom line is, we want to show them the kind of opportunities, and we want to give them an opportunity to work on projects, like you said, that can actually change the way they think and get them more ready for this whole new digital wave and digital currencies that are coming ahead. So I just wanted to chip that in because I'm loving it, but I just wanted to just place a bit of focus on Africa and some young people as well.
And with that,
sorry, Wasim. I think Sam, and I agree, but I also disagree. I disagree in the fact that African resources, if it's at the same level with British resource, French resource, American resource, needs to be remunerated the same way across what they are doing. We need to be, what is the biggest problem Africa faces today apart from employment? Poverty, right? And so if a young person is going to do for a brand the same thing they could get done by, someone from the UK and then get paid 40%, 50% less, I think we do have to acknowledge that skill set is skill set, and we need to pay for skill sets. It's only in paying for skill sets that we drive the markets to where they are supposed to be. It's only paying for skill set that we get young people interested in working for corporates. I think one of the reasons young people, as we say, they're frugal innovators, are starting startups left, right, and center is because they don't feel they are paid what they are deserved. And I think for me, I agree with everything else you said. But in terms of paying, we do have to pay. It doesn't matter where they come from. We
Sarah,
have to
let me wow you.
What
Let
they
me wow
are
you.
worth for each for the work they do for us.
Let me wow you with two things. Let me just wow you with two things.
Sorry, Sam, just because of time, and Sarah's got
Okay.
a client. I'm just going to quickly
All right.
also come to Keith, and then we're going
We
to
can
wrap
connect
up.
later. We can connect later.
Okay.
Because that is definitely going to be a larger part of the conversation. So Keith, welcome. Keith is the CMO of StageClip. You've heard the conversation. We know the power of video. In fact, Sarah did a whole talk on the power of video and how that empowers. I'd love for your thoughts on everything that we've talked about and what Sarah has mentioned and some of the other things you've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. Apologies for having to join a little bit late. I think at StageClip, what we've seen working with universities and colleges around the world, pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and post-pandemic, is that video plays such a huge role in connecting people together, whether that's to a sense of place with their university or whether it's with family or friends, whether that's their graduation clip that they're getting from us, or whether that's the rise of Zoom as a way of family reunions and connections, or Zoom interviews. It used to be that was just a certain stage of the interview that maybe you got the Zoom interview, but now it's in many cases the entire interview process for careers and that sort of thing. So the idea of being able to express yourself in a very professional way, in a very appropriate way, and to highlight the skills and the work that you've done for students and for people of any age, honestly, is huge. And that's what the pandemic's shown us. I think that's a lesson that we've learned. I fully agree with Sam, your point of it was a necessary lesson in some cases that we're happy we learned as much as we could over the last 18 months, because it maybe took a lot of decisions or experiments when it comes to innovation and progress that we were maybe holding off on, and forced us to take the step and to make it work. And I think we're learning in a lot of cases that the ability to go out and to innovate and to seek progress is highly rewarded in this economy. I think the idea of who can do that has expanded significantly.
Yeah, absolutely right. And as you said, I think one of the common themes was what COVID did was allow us to rethink how we think. And I think that was one of the most important parts of that, is that we now have an opportunity to think about not only what we're going to do next, but also, all the opportunities available to us. And with that, we're going to come to an end. And I want to leave with last thing from everybody here. Tara, we're headed into space. We know that we're in space. Sarah talked about all this opportunity with all these young people out there. The fact that humans are now reaching space, isn't it a time that we realize that, hey, this generation is probably going to be spacefaring, or the generation after? And if that's the case, what do we need to put in place now so that this generation has everything they need to not only take us into the next space age, but also make sure that the planet that we are on also thrives with all the innovation and the success?
Honestly, letting them share their imagination with us, because I will honestly say many of the technologies and processes and things that we know about space honestly have come from science fiction. Much of it has. And so we count on those kind of creative thinkers to contribute to our future. Our future in space is going to be bigger than it has been. I've been at NASA 20 years, and we've had people in space for decades, and the space station for 20 years. But now more than ever, we're sending more people like you and me, average everyday people who aren't the special NASA astronauts. So we will need people like space medics, people like space agriculturists, people who understand space weather, people who are space psychologists even, engineers, architects, and construction who are specific to the space discipline. space lawyers, right? So think of any career that you would have on the ground here to make the Earth function in a positive way. You'll need that in space as well. So what we do is we mentor. I'm here to mentor. Many students will call me and I'll talk to them about their career choices. But we also have a great internship program at NASA where we count on them to tell us what's going on in their minds. And I had an intern this summer who came up with an idea I had not thought about. And we took it to the chief scientist, then we took it to our legal office, then we took it to our international relations office, and it blew up into an international conversation around certain parts of going back to the moon because of what she told me that we hadn't really considered before. So sharing their imaginations, their ideas, and their thoughts with us is what we count on. That's what I would say to them.
Sarah, do we need space marketers?
I think we need marketers everywhere. Space is about science. We need marketers in science more than ever. In today, we need marketers in science more than we've ever needed them.
That's the truth.
That's the biggest truth out of this right there, out of this whole conversation.
Lachey, any last points? And then I'm going to get Sam, you as well, and then Sarah, you're going to have the last words as you were the chief guest. And some of the things you said, Rhett, I'm going to have to rewind. Like I've heard so many great speakers, and when Sarah was speaking, even I was like, what interview questions am I supposed to be asking? Because you've just unpacked a whole course right here. Lachey?
Oh, no, just briefly, a huge thank you to everyone for blessing everyone and the audience with your time. And I think one thing to sort of leave everyone with, anyone watching this or on a replay, is that our energy reaches places before we do as leaders in a workplace, in a school environment. So everything is dependent on the reason why we're doing something, the energy that comes with why we're doing something. I think as a young person, one of the biggest struggles that I've experienced and that so many other young people experience is not feeling valued. So just I challenge you, whether you lead from the front, the middle, or the back, just be a leader however you can and make sure you value and respect those around you.
Thank you, Shay. Sam?
Well, I'm a Pan-Africanist. I love my people. I love what Shay just said there. And for me, my last words is learning from what's happened. For us, I'd like us to learn from the China model, how they started from such a small place to where they are today. And that's what I want for Africa. So I'm prepared to delay our gratification, meaning I'm prepared to delay equal wages now for it in the future. So that's my parting words of wisdom.
Fine. And Keith, you, and then Sarah, I'd like you to close the show.
So I would say it's been a pleasure. We had the joy of working with Lachey and Rhett and so many others and Dr. Rutley on our Elevate Your Voice campaign recently. We had the chance to meet students from literally around the world. I have never been on a Zoom call with people from so many countries at one time, all trying to stay awake or wake up, depending on what side of the planet they were on. But to see just the engagement that we have in the next generation of students and graduates entering the workforce is incredibly encouraging. And I am learning so much just from them. And we as a company have been just so blessed to have that opportunity. So thanks again to all of you that have participated. And I encourage you to go back. As Wasim said, we had so many good speakers and so many good topics of conversation to go back and see. So thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Rhett?
Oh, I can't add anything more brilliant than any of that. This is fantastic, and Wasim, you guys, Tara, keep doing this. This is really, really valuable.
Sarah, there are so many students. There was people from Pakistan watching you today. There was people from the UK. There were people from the US. There were people from Africa. We even had people from the Middle East. Pretty much all the continents were covered. And I've got a special message from Dr. Arina Yashin Shaw, who's based in Australia. And she's like, it seems like 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I'm going to wake up. But can you let Sarah know that we talk about entrepreneurial skills, but entrepreneurial skills are just as important, because 70% of the world works with companies. And as you said, as you get bigger and these organizations grow, we lose that startup culture. But one of the ways that it can be ignited is by empowering those employees and young people who join, who are really passionate about their ideas, but they need support from organizations like yourselves. And with that, Sarah, Africa's Awakening, what message do you have, not just for the young people in Africa, but also all around the world? Because the truth is, everybody loved what you said today.
I think, I'm very passionate about young people, so I will stick to my finishing words to young people. I think they will apply to anyone. When you're trying to, you're in your 20s, 18, 19, you're trying to get into this market, you're trying to figure out what the world looks like, you feel lost, find your purpose, work very hard to find what your purpose looks like. The earlier you find it, it's magic. The later, there's no right or wrong time to find your purpose, but you find it earlier, it then guides what your life looks like. Focus your energy. And I think Lashai mentioned it. Focus your energy, because, if you meet someone today trying to look for money from you, beyond their idea is the energy they bring to the room, that you decide, I want to work with this person, or I don't want to work with this person. Even if they're looking for mentorship, it's that energy they bring with themselves that allows you to decide, do I want to work with this person or not? Be brave, be open, do more, do a lot, right? Just do a lot, as much as you can, and create businesses, create movements, create ideas, create as much as you can. And, don't let anyone hold you back, but more so, do not let yourself hold yourself back. Because, I think sometimes the society is holding us back, but most of the time, we are the biggest barrier to whatever growth we could be able to achieve in our lives today. Thank you, Wasim.
With that, special thank you to you, Sarah, for coming on. As you said, in fact, that whole conversation about how we connected and where it led to, and all these amazing people here, that's what communication can do. That's what social media can do. I want to thank all the audience. We had people from Trinidad and Tobago as well. I just seen that, Nikolai. Thank you so much for everything you've been doing with us. And for all of you who watch this panel from around the world, rewatch it, share it. And I'm genuinely saying that I think so much was put in there that it was incredible. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your time. Tara, you, Rhett, as always, a pleasure. Shay, you're going places that when I was your age, I didn't do half the things you did, so I'm not even going to talk to you. Right? Nowhere near. Sam, thank you so much. I know you're doing a lot out there in Nigeria, so appreciate that. And Keith, it's always a pleasure to have you. You speak so eloquently, and you're so precise. So thank you so much for that. Sarah, been a pleasure. Good night, everybody. Thank you, and look forward to catching with you again. GradX program, Crucible, all of that is available. Sarah is one of those people that I think is very encouraging. She's there to support. And if any of you are interested, we'll post our details on how you can get involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wasim. Thank you, Tara. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you all. Bye.
Good night. Bye.